The room froze as he pointed at me, his icy blue eyes cutting through the golden chandeliers. "Look at her," he said, his laugh echoing. "A girl from the slums. I gave her everything, and she still cannot measure up." My chest tightened, my fingers clenching the silver silk of my dress. And in that moment I realized they think I'm fragile. They have no idea I'm just beginning. Have you ever been humiliated and discovered the fire it sparks? Hello, everyone. We're the James family, and we're so thrilled you're here with us today. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to share incredible stories, heartfelt moments, and a little bit of magic with you. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. And if you enjoy what you see, give us a like and share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from our family of viewers. Welcome to the journey, and thank you for being part of our story. The fork slips, not falls. Slips like her fingers let it go on purpose. It hits the marble floor, a sharp, clean sound, crystal against stone, the kind of sound that makes people turn their heads without meaning to. Elara freezes. Her hand is still half open. The gold silk sleeve slides down her wrist, cool, heavy, expensive. The chandelier above hums softly, 1,000 tiny lights vibrating in place. Someone laughs. Not at her, not yet. She bends, slow. The dress moves with her, whispering against her thighs. She smells lemon polish on the floor, wine, something metallic underneath it all. Her nail brushes the fork. Cold, too cold. She straightens. The room feels taller now. Alistair's voice cuts through the air before she can step back. "Look at her." The microphone carries it everywhere, not loud, not angry, amused. Elara doesn't look at him yet. She smooths the napkin on the table. One crease, then another. Secondary action. Small, controlled. 500 people shift in their seats. Glassware clinks. Someone coughs. Alistair smiles. She knows that smile. It's the one he uses in board meetings, when someone is about to lose everything. "A girl from the slums," he continues, tilting his head slightly, platinum hair catching the light. Elara's throat tightens. Her jaw stays relaxed. She presses her tongue gently to the roof of her mouth. Pressure, trick her father taught her when panic came fast. "You can give someone the best education," Alistair says, pacing slowly. "The best clothes." He gestures vaguely at her dress. And still. He pauses. A deliberate pause. The crowd leans in without realizing it. She smells his cologne now. Cold spice. Something synthetic. She talks like a servant. The word servant lands heavy, like dropped cutlery. Laughter ripples, polite, uncomfortable, then louder. Elara's fingers curl around the edge of the table. The linen is starched too stiff. She rubs it between her thumb and forefinger. Grounding. Alistair lifts his glass. "You can paint a common stone gold," he says, voice smooth as poured oil. "But it will never be a diamond." More laughter. This time, real. Her ears ring. Not loud, just hollow. Have you ever been in a room where everyone is breathing and still felt completely airless? She swallows. Her stomach twists. Not fear. Recognition. Alistair turns fully toward her now, blue eyes sharp, focused. "Elara," he says. Her name sounds trimmed, edited. "Go sit in the car." The room stills. No laughter this time. "Your presence," he adds lightly, "is polluting the air of true elites." A few people clap. Not many. Enough. Elara exhales slowly through her nose. She lifts her clutch. It's heavier than it should be. Her feet move before her mind argues. Julian steps into place beside her, close enough that she feels the heat of him, close enough to block the cameras. His suit is matte black, no shine, no scent but mint and something clean. Security training. He offers his arm, professional impersonal. As they walk, she keeps her eyes forward, each step measured. The marble floor creaks faintly under her heels. A high, thin sound, like a held breath. Near the exit, Julian leans closer. His voice is barely sound. "Don't let them see you bleed," he murmurs. She keeps walking. The cage, he adds almost kindly, is open. The doors swing shut behind her. The sound is soft, padded, too final. Outside, the night air hits her skin. Cool, damp, smelling of rain and car exhaust. Her chest tightens, then loosens. She stands still, hands at her sides. No tears. Not yet. Inside the ballroom, applause swells again. Inside Elara, something else does. Quieter. Denser. Unfinished. As the driver opens the car door, Elara suddenly tastes something bitter at the back of her tongue, a flavor she's felt before and never questioned. Got it. The bitterness spreads. Not sharp, not immediate, slow, like it's deciding where to settle. Elara pauses with one foot half inside the car. The driver's hand waits on the door, frozen, polite. She swallows. The taste clings, metallic, dry. Her tongue tingles faintly as if brushed by a battery. She blinks once. The night feels heavier than it should. "Mom," the driver says softly. She nods and lowers herself into the seat. Leather, cool against the backs of her legs. The door shuts. A muted seal. The world narrows to the quiet hum of the engine. She presses her tongue against the roof of her mouth again. The bitterness stays. She rolls her shoulders back, straightening her spine. Habit. Training. The car pulls away. City lights slide across the window in stretched streaks. Gold, white, red. She watches them pass without focusing. Her hands rest in her lap. Still. Too still. Her stomach shifts uneasily, a slow roll like water adjusting in a glass. She inhales through her nose, counts, 4 in, 6 out. The smell inside the car is clean, leather conditioner, faint pine, no food, no wine, so why? Another wave of bitterness rises, stronger. She presses her thumb into the pad of her ring finger, pain, small, controlled. Her mind searches backward, the soup, the wine, the bread she barely touched. Nothing unusual, nothing obvious. Have you ever felt your body react before your thoughts could catch up, like it knew something you were still denying? Her throat tightens. She swallows again. This time it burns slightly on the way down. The driver checks the mirror. Their eyes meet for half a second. Concern flickers. "Are you feeling all right?" he asks. "Yes," she says. Her voice sounds normal. That surprises her. The car turns onto the long, private drive. Trees line the road, dark silhouettes swaying gently. The mansion appears ahead, wide, lit, immaculate, a place designed to feel safe. Her stomach twists harder now. She places one hand flat against it. Warmth spreads under her palm. Unpleasant, wrong. The car stops. The door opens. Cool air rushes in. She stands carefully, testing her balance. The ground holds. Good. She walks inside. The doors close behind her with a soft, expensive hush. Inside smells faintly of citrus cleaner and old money. Quiet. Too quiet. She removes her heels slowly by the entry table. One shoe, then the other. Her toes curl against the marble. Cold seeps upward. She straightens and walks toward the kitchen. Each step echoes faintly. Tick, tick, tick. The grandfather clock in the hall marks time she suddenly feels very aware of. In the kitchen, a tray waits on the counter, covered. Silver lid polished to a mirror shine. Her reflection stares back at her. Gold dress, composed face, eyes slightly too bright. She lifts the lid. Steam curls up. Soup, still warm. She doesn't smell it yet. She watches it. The surface is smooth, undisturbed. Someone cared enough to keep it fresh. Her stomach clenches. She reaches for a spoon. Metal against ceramic makes a soft ring. Her hand hesitates. Then she dips the spoon and lifts it, just enough to smell. Broth. Herbs. Something else. Faint. Bitter. Her jaw tightens. She sets the spoon down without tasting. Her vision swims for half a second. She grips the counter. Breath shortens. Not panic. Calculation. She pushes the tray away slowly. She moves to the sink and turns on the tap. Water rushes out loud in the quiet kitchen. She cups her hands and splashes her face. Cold water shocks her skin. Good. She looks up at her reflection again. Her pupils are slightly dilated. Her lips look paler than usual. She presses them together. Her body feels muted, like someone turned the volume down a notch. She dries her hands carefully on a towel, folds it once, then again. Secondary action. Control. Her stomach rolls again, sharper now. She sits down on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinet. Cool wood presses into her spine. She breathes, in through the nose, out through parted lips. The bitterness blooms again. Stronger, definite. Recognition hits. Not loud, not dramatic, clear. This isn't stress, this isn't humiliation, this is chemistry. Her father's voice floats up from memory. Oakland. Rain tapping against the window. Her hand small, clumsy around an apple. Everything has a taste, he'd said, even things meant to hide. She presses her tongue against her teeth. Yes, there it is, hidden under herbs and salt. Her stomach cramps suddenly. She hisses softly and leans forward, arms wrapping around her middle. Pain flashes, then dulls, measured, dosed, not enough to kill, enough to slow. She laughs once, a short, breathless sound, so that's why. She pushes herself up using the counter. Her legs feel slightly heavy but steady. She moves through the house with intention now, up the stairs, one hand on the railing, wood smooth from years of polish. At the landing she pauses. The nausea eases just enough to think clearly. She goes to Alistair's study. The door is unlocked. As always, confidence has no locks. She steps inside and closes the door quietly. The room smells like leather, paper, and his cologne. She moves to the desk, touches nothing yet. Listens. The house hums faintly. Air vents, distant electrical systems. No footsteps. She sits in his chair. It's molded to his body. She doesn't adjust it. She presses the button that wakes his tablet. The screen lights up. Password prompt. She types. Her fingers know it. The screen unlocks. Folders bloom across the display. She scrolls slowly. Nothing obvious. She opens email threads. Business, finance, politics. Then a folder buried 3 levels deep. Unlabeled. She opens it. Her breath catches. Files, encrypted. Project name flashes briefly before requiring authorization. TQ_protocol. Her pulse quickens. Her stomach tightens again, almost in warning. She leans back and closes her eyes for 1 second. Just one. Have you ever realized that the pain you're feeling isn't random? That it's been scheduled? She opens her eyes. She copies the folder. Transfers it to her own hidden drive. The process bar moves, slow. Each second stretches. Her stomach cramps again, sharper. She clenches her jaw, waits. The bar completes. She ejects the drive, erases the access log, restores the tablet exactly as it was. She stands. The room tilts slightly. She steadies herself on the desk, breathing shallow now. Controlled. She walks back to the bedroom, moves mechanically. She changes into a loose shirt, slips under the covers. Her body sinks into the mattress. Heavy. The bitterness lingers. She stares at the ceiling. The chandelier light from the hall throws soft patterns across it. Her phone vibrates once on the nightstand. A system notification. Medical app. Unusual vitals detected. She closes her eyes slowly. Not fear, understanding. Someone has been feeding her something, carefully, patiently. The thought settles in her chest like a stone, and stones, she now realizes, can be sharpened. As her breathing slows, a final realization cuts through the haze. The dosage was adjusted tonight, and whoever did it knew she'd been humiliated first. The pill rolls out of her mouth and clatters into the porcelain sink. A soft, hollow click. Elara grips the counter with both hands. The bathroom light is too bright, too white. Her reflection looks thinner under it, not weaker, sharper. She stares at the pill, small, ivory, unmarked. It spins once, then settles near the drain. Her tongue still hums faintly. She reaches for a glass and fills it with water. The tap hisses, then steadies. She drinks. Slow, not to swallow the pill, to clear the taste. It doesn't fully go. She turns off the light and lets the room fall into half dark. Better. She sits on the edge of the tub, cold porcelain through fabric. Her hands tremble once, then stop. Secondary action. She opens the medicine cabinet. Rows of bottles, vitamins, supplements, prescriptions, all labeled in neat, elegant type, all approved, all arranged by size. She takes one down, turns it, then another. Her breathing evens as her mind sharpens. Pattern recognition. Her father's voice again, distant but steady. "Poison is boring," he'd said once, rain hammering the roof. "It only looks clever to people who don't measure." Measure. She carries the bottles to the counter, lines them up, largest to smallest. She picks up a notebook from the drawer beneath the sink, blank pages. She tears one out, smooths it flat. She opens her phone and sets a timer. 10 minutes. She crushes the pill gently between 2 spoons. The sound is muted. Powder blooms. She divides it carefully into 2 uneven piles, using a folded receipt, one slightly larger than the other. She exhales. Steady. She wets her finger and touches the smaller pile, just enough to taste. Her tongue reacts instantly. Numbness, a faint bloom of heat. She spits into the sink, rinses, wipes her mouth. Her stomach tightens, then settles, controlled. She writes in the notebook. Reaction, mild, delayed, lingering. She tastes the larger pile. This time, the burn is stronger. Her vision softens at the edges. Her pulse quickens. She leans against the counter and waits. Counts breaths. 1, 2, 3. It fades. Not fully. Enough. She writes again. Dose-dependent, accumulative. Her phone timer buzzes. 10 minutes. She checks her heart rate. Slightly elevated. She smiles once. Not happy. Certain. She rinses the sink thoroughly. Washes the spoons. Dries them. Puts everything back exactly where it was. Secondary action keeps her grounded. The world makes sense when things return to place. She returns to the bedroom. Sits at the small desk by the window. Moonlight stretches across the floor like a pale ribbon. She opens the drive she copied earlier. The encrypted files resist at first. She doesn't force them. She scrolls. Metadata, dates, locations, times. Her eyes stop on a recurring entry. Adjust, evening protocol. She clicks. A chart opens. Clean, precise. Her breath slows. Dosage adjustments logged over months. Increases, decreases. Always after public appearances. Always after stressors. Always after humiliation. Her stomach turns. Not from the poison now, but from clarity. This wasn't maintenance, it was conditioning. She leans back in the chair. Wood presses into her spine. She closes her eyes. Have you ever realized that someone didn't just want to hurt you? They wanted to shape you. She opens them again. She scrolls further. A second column. Cognitive delay. Metrics. Her jaw tightens. She flips to another page in the notebook. Draws a rough timeline. Marks the gala. Marks tonight. Marks tomorrow morning. Her finger pauses. Tomorrow morning. A scheduled adjustment. Higher than tonight. She doesn't flinch. She opens the bedside drawer, pulls out a small sewing kit, thread, needles, a tiny digital scale hidden beneath the lining. She weighs the remaining pills. Compares. Counts. Her fingers move with quiet confidence. She replaces one pill, removes another, micro-adjusts, not removing the poison, rebalancing it. She lies back on the bed, stares at the ceiling, waits. Her body responds differently now, not collapsing, learning. Her stomach tightens briefly, then releases. Her head clears. She sits up, smiles again, this time softer. She picks up her phone, deletes the medical app alert history, all of it. She resets the baseline data. The system will think she's improving. She lies back down, pulls the covers up to her chest. The room hums quietly around her. She listens. Footsteps pass in the hall, then stop. A shadow pauses beneath the door. Someone listening. She keeps her breathing slow, even. A moment passes. The shadow moves away. Her eyes stay open long after, not afraid, alert, calculating. As sleep finally drags at her edges, one thought stays razor sharp. Tomorrow morning's dose isn't meant to weaken her. It's meant to see how much she can survive. The door handle turns without a click. Elara's eyes open instantly. No gasp. No sharp breath, just awareness snapping into place. Moonlight cuts a pale stripe across the floor as the door moves inward, slow enough to look accidental. The hinge doesn't creak. Someone oiled it recently. She keeps her breathing even. Her fingers slide beneath the blanket and curl around the edge of the mattress. The room smells faintly of night air and something cleaner. Mint again. A shadow detaches itself from the darkness near the door. Julian. He closes the door behind him with careful pressure, palm flat against the wood until the latch settles into silence. He doesn't look at the bed right away. Instead, he walks to the desk, sets something down. Metal against wood. Soft. Deliberate. Elara doesn't move. She lets him think she's asleep. Julian exhales slowly, like he's been holding it for hours. He reaches for the apple bowl on the desk, selects one. Red. Firm. He rolls it once in his palm, testing weight, then pulls a small knife from his pocket. The blade flashes briefly in the moonlight. Secondary action. He begins to peel. The skin comes away in a single, careful ribbon. Elara speaks without opening her eyes. You peel like someone who grew up, hungry. The knife pauses, just for a beat, then continues. Or trained, Julian says quietly. Elara opens her eyes, sits up. The blanket slides to her waist. Her voice is calm. You poisoned hinges, but not apples. Julian's mouth twitches, not a smile, recognition. He finishes the peel and places the apple on the desk, untouched. You shouldn't eat tonight, he says. I know, she replies. You adjusted the dose. That makes him look at her. Really look. The silence stretches. The clock down the hall ticks once, twice. Julian sets the knife down carefully, blade facing away from her. I wondered when you'd stop pretending, he says. Elara swings her legs off the bed and stands. The floor is cold. She welcomes it. She walks to the desk and sits across from him, folding her hands in her lap. Secondary action. Stillness. Pretending what? She asks. That you didn't notice, he replies, that you didn't understand, that you were still surviving instead of measuring. Her jaw tightens slightly. Is this where you threaten me, she asks, or apologize? Julian shakes his head once. Neither. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small, matte black drive, sets it beside the apple. It looks heavier than it should. I'm not Alistair's loyal dog, he says. She doesn't reach for it. Everyone is someone's, she replies. Julian leans back in the chair. The wood creaks under his weight. I belong to outcomes, he says, not men. Elara studies his face, the lines near his eyes, the controlled posture, the way his fingers rest flat on the desk, ready, but not aggressive. You escorted me like a guard tonight, she says, but you warned me like a traitor. He doesn't deny it. Instead, he slides the drive closer to her. I'm the ghost, he says. The words land without drama, without pride, just fact. The room feels smaller. The air tightens. Elara exhales slowly through her nose. So that's where the leaks came from, the gaps in Alistair's armor. She reaches for the apple and turns it in her hand, examining the pale flesh where the peel was removed. Why now? She asks. Julian's eyes flick briefly to the door, then back. Because tomorrow morning isn't about weakness, he says. It's about thresholds. Her fingers still. Mine? She asks. Your father's, Julian replies. The word father shifts something in her chest, sharp, immediate. She doesn't ask how. She asks when. Where? She says. Julian hesitates. Just long enough. That's the part you don't know yet, he admits. Only that he's alive. Only that he's being moved. She sets the apple down untouched. Have you ever realized the worst thing wasn't that they hurt you, but that they timed it to distract you? Julian leans forward. Elara, he says, softer now. Pause, Alistair thinks you're a pawn. Her eyes lift to his. I know you're the queen. The word sits between them, heavy, earned. Julian taps the drive once. Your father didn't build the system for Alistair, he continues. He built it for you, your biometric signature, your stress responses, your voice. You're the kill switch. Her pulse picks up despite her control. So, poisoning me, she starts, was insurance, Julian finishes, to keep you slow, compliant, predictable. She lets that settle. Then she asks the only question that matters. Why help me? Julian's jaw tightens. For the same reason I never ate the apple, he says. Some things aren't meant to be consumed. They're meant to be planted. She studies him, sees the fracture lines under his calm. You could have stopped the dosage, she says. I needed to see if you'd wake up, he replies. That stings. She nods once. Acceptance, not forgiveness. She reaches for the drive. Her fingers brush his. Static snaps lightly. Neither pulls away immediately. Then we're past waking, she says. What's next? Julian stands, straightens his jacket. Next, he says, you disappear. Her eyebrows lift slightly. No, she corrects him. Next, I die. Julian's lips curve faintly. Yes, he agrees, spectacularly. As Julian moves back toward the door, he pauses without turning around and says one final thing. The timing has to be perfect because once you're dead, there's no coming back. The night air hit her face before she even opened the car door. Cold, sharp, bitter like iron. She tasted it on her tongue instinctively. A single flash of the streetlight across the hood reflected her face, pale and tense. Her breath fogged the glass for a second before she wiped it away with the back of her hand. The engine hummed under her, idle and waiting, silent, except for the pulse pounding in her ears. She slid into the driver's seat, ignoring the tremor that whispered along her ribs. Julian had parked in the shadowed lane, away from cameras, but the city beyond, the faint glow of lights, felt too close, too judgmental. Her fingers traced the edge of the steering wheel, memorizing the cold leather texture, her thumb tapping a silent rhythm. 1, 2, 3. Her gaze flicked to the matte black drive resting on the passenger seat. Its weight invisible, its consequence heavy. Her reflection in the rearview mirror layered her thoughts over Julian's warning and 100 nights of hidden calculations. One slow breath in, one measured exhale. The car purred awake. The drive beeped softly, confirming the encryption intact. She leaned back against the seat for a heartbeat, letting the tension in her shoulders settle just enough to think clearly. Tonight, she would die. Spectacularly. Perfectly. Invisible. The first mile stretched ahead, empty and forgiving. She let her hands rest lightly on the wheel, tapping a rhythm against the leather, a silent counting of heartbeats, of moments, of opportunities. The first curve approached. She slowed, feeling the tires whisper over the asphalt. The shadows of trees along the roadside swayed with the faint wind, tracing jagged patterns across the hood. She untangled her hair, pulling it into a tight knot, fingers flexing, muscles memorizing movement and tension. Her pulse synced with the engine's soft hum. Her stomach rolled with controlled anticipation. Then the first twist. A single line of code appeared on the small tablet mounted in the dash, a signal she hadn't triggered. She hadn't touched it yet. It blinked with precise, patient patience. Not yet. They're watching. Her stomach dropped. She had planned every second, measured every breath, counted every turn, but someone else had access, someone silent, someone aware of every micro-movement. The code blinked again. Make it appear accidental. Do not trigger sensors. Wait for the signal. Her pulse spiked. She had thought she controlled everything. Not everything. There was a layer she hadn't accounted for, a biometric security override. Someone knew her signature, her exact patterns, her timing. Her thumb danced over the tablet interface, sending counter-commands, overriding what she didn't understand fully yet. A small light blinked on the drive. Confirmation. Her stomach eased slightly. She was faster than they expected. Smarter. Calculated. The bridge appeared ahead, shadows casting jagged patterns across the hood, silvered by the moon. Her breath slowed, each exhale deliberate. Tires whispered over asphalt, every detail aligned. Timing was perfect. She pressed the accelerator just enough to glide into the curve, the car's suspension humming under her control. She reached into the glove compartment, retrieving a small black pouch, heavy with intent. Her hands moved with deliberate precision, as though every action was being observed, every movement measured. Her eyes scanned the rearview mirror, empty, silence held. Perfect. The river below shimmered faintly, light glinting violently off the surface, silver against black. Her pulse tightened, excitement and fear merging. One last glance at the tablet. The signal blinked again. The first stage had begun, timing everything. Her mind raced, scanning possible outcomes, recalculating every move. The twist she hadn't anticipated. Sensors were biometric, linked directly to her stress responses, her heartbeat, her voice. Someone knew exactly how she would move. She smiled faintly. That didn't deter her. She was always 3 steps ahead, 3 breaths ahead. Her fingers hovered over the gear shift, counting 1, 2, 3, timing everything. A shadow detached itself from the tree line alongside the bridge, moving faster than the eye could track. Someone else had anticipated her move. The night was no longer hers alone. Her pulse accelerated. Her stomach twisted, not from fear, but adrenaline. She had prepared for this moment, calculated every detail, yet now she realized she wasn't alone, not entirely. She pressed the gear shift forward. The car leaned gently into the bridge's curve. The river reflected the moonlight in silver streaks. Her heartbeat synchronized with the engine's low hum. Every muscle taut, every thought focused. The tablet blinked again. Confirmation of signal received. The first stage would proceed. She adjusted her mirrors, checked every angle. eyes narrowing at the faint shimmer on the guardrails. Every microsecond mattered. She felt the drive on the passenger seat vibrate lightly under her fingers. The signal had synchronized with the vehicle's movement. Timing precise. The night stretched around her, vast and threatening. Her lips curved slightly. They expected failure. They expected hesitation. She had neither. The car's tires whispered over the asphalt as she accelerated gently toward the bridge's edge. One last calculation. One last breath. One last heartbeat. Her pulse steadied. Muscles relaxed just slightly, enough to move fluidly. The river below reflected silver light, violent and perfect. Timing aligned. Have you ever realized that the most spectacular deaths are sometimes staged for the wrong person? She pressed the accelerator fully. And then a single shadow detached itself from the tree line, moving faster than the eye could follow, stepping onto the bridge just as the car reached the edge, and the night erupted into motion. The shadow moved faster than her mind could follow, a silhouette slipping across the bridge's steel ribs, catching moonlight in a fractured gleam. Elara's eyes snapped toward it. Reflex, muscle memory, every breath measured, every heartbeat counted. She gripped the steering wheel tighter, leather pressing into her palms. Her stomach twisted, not fear, not panic, but pure focus, a coil tightening in rhythm with the engine's low hum. The car glided forward, tires whispering against asphalt. She could feel the weight of her plan, the precision of every calculation, pressing her forward like gravity itself had a will. Her hand hovered near the glove compartment, brushing against the black pouch. She didn't move yet. She needed the shadow to make the next step. Timing was everything. The wind shifted across the bridge, cold and metallic. Her hair lifted slightly, brushing her forehead. She wiped it away, eyes locked on the figure now halfway across the steel railing. Every movement deliberate, controlled, calculated. A flash of recognition. It wasn't just a shadow. There was shape, intent, familiarity she couldn't place immediately, memory flaring in fragments. The bridge groaned under the weight of her acceleration. Her pulse synced. Calculated. The first microseconds of risk arrived, and she welcomed them. The figure lunged, not violently, not erratically, smooth, precise, directly toward her car. She pressed the accelerator, feeling the tires bite, hugging the curve. The figure halted mid-step. Fingers reached for the railing, for the steel edge, but not toward her. Her heart skipped once, twice. Recognition snapped fully. Julian. Her pulse calmed slightly, but her body didn't relax. He didn't run toward the car. He measured it, tested it, waiting, watching. The drive hummed softly beside her. She ignored it, focusing instead on the rhythm of her surroundings. Engine, tires, wind, the faint ripple of water below. She could feel the vibrations through the floorboards, timing everything. Julian's eyes, sharp in the moonlight, followed her. He raised a single hand, not in greeting, not in warning, but as a signal. Patience, coordination, observation. Elara exhaled slowly through her nose. Her hands gripped the wheel, the black pouch pressed against her thigh, cold through fabric. Her pulse synchronized with the bridge's ambient vibration. She counted quietly in her head. 1, 2, 3, 4. The river shimmered beneath, reflecting silver like shards of glass. She had expected a trap, anticipated a disruption, but this was something else. A test. She glanced at Julian. His jaw tightened, not impatience, measurement. Her mind flicked rapidly. What could he see that she didn't? What was his calculation? The shadow shifted again, stepping lightly across the steel framework. A glimmer of steel flashed. A mirror, a small handheld mirror, angled perfectly toward her car. Her breath caught. He was testing reflection angles, lines of sight, anticipating observers she hadn't accounted for. The bridge, moonlight, asphalt, river, everything became a game of light and shadow, a dance she had to survive. She tapped the brakes lightly, the car gliding into position. Every microsecond mattered. Timing precise. Her fingers hovered over the pouch. A single movement would set the first stage in motion. She glanced again at Julian. His lips moved, whispering nothing, just observation. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that someone you trusted might already know every move you plan before you even think it? Her pulse surged. She pressed her hand to the pouch, lifting it slightly. The weight was a reminder, a calculation, a promise. The first twist hit, a small vibration from the drive she hadn't expected. Julian wasn't just observing her. He had inserted a subtle override. Tiny, imperceptible, enough to test her reaction. Her mind raced. She adjusted her grip, subtle corrections to steering, micro-adjustments, balancing speed, trajectory, and timing. Every reflex now sharpened, heightened, alive. The mirror flashed again. She caught it in her peripheral vision. Calculated. The reflected light landed on a sensor. She hadn't accounted for that exact angle. Her stomach tightened, a coil of adrenaline and cognition, but she smiled faintly. They expected hesitation. They expected fear. But she had prepared for the unexpected. Every reaction predicted, every possibility calculated. She adjusted her seat, leaning slightly, fingers pressing the pouch against her palm. Timing. Weight. Leverage. Julian shifted slightly. Still silent, still precise. He didn't move to stop her, only to observe. She activated the pouch. A faint click, invisible except to her. The bridge lights flickered briefly as the first stage of her plan initiated. Nothing obvious, no danger, only subtle shifts, imperceptible changes to the surrounding environment, enough to disorient anyone watching too closely. She exhaled slowly, chest rising and falling, matching the rhythm of the tires, the vibration of the asphalt, the soft hum of the engine. The river below rippled faintly. Wind lifted leaves across the surface, every sound measured, every motion intentional. Her eyes caught another glint, a reflection of herself in the mirror Julian had held, overlaid on the bridge's structure. Two Elara Vanes, one physical, one reflected, a visual trick. She adjusted the steering subtly, correcting for perception, controlling narrative, controlling reality. Julian's shadow remained poised, waiting, analyzing, but not interfering. She realized something crucial. He wasn't the obstacle. He was the calibrator. Her fingers brushed the pouch again. A subtle pressure adjustment triggered another hidden mechanism. Small, precise, perfect. The first stage completed. No trace, no sound, no witness. Only a change, invisible to everyone but her. She exhaled again, letting tension leave in a controlled puff. Her mind, racing, still planned every next movement. The twist deepened. She hadn't anticipated the biometric sensors on the bridge would react to her pulse. But with Julian observing, subtle changes in her heart rate had already been accounted for, integrated into the plan. Her lips curved faintly. They expected chaos. They would not get it. The road ahead stretched empty, shadowed, silent, perfect. Her eyes flicked to the drive again. Confirmation. Lights blinked softly. The signal had synchronized. Every microsecond aligned with her plan. She pressed the accelerator slightly. The car glided forward. Confidence, precision, timing. The river shimmered below. Steel bridge reflected moonlight like fractured glass. Her stomach tightened again. Not fear, but awareness, focus, calculation. Every breath deliberate, every muscle prepared. The shadow shifted slightly. Julian's hand twitched. Nothing obvious. Invisible signals exchanged in silence. A twist she hadn't fully anticipated. A second figure appeared, mirrored on the far side of the bridge, silent, watching, unknown. Her pulse quickened. Her mind raced, calculating. A new variable, unseen, immediate. She smiled faintly. Perfect. Timing still hers. Control still hers. The car glided forward. River, moonlight, asphalt, wind, everything aligned in rhythm. Every microsecond mattered, every movement precise. Her fingers flexed over the pouch. Pressure exact, timing exact. The bridge stretched ahead. Shadows flickered across the hood. She exhaled, measured. A final glance at Julian. Recognition, coordination, trust. She pressed the accelerator slightly, leaning into the rhythm, embracing the chaos she had already tamed. The first stage completed, the second stage awaited. She counted quietly. 1, 2, 3. The river shimmered beneath her. Steel reflected moonlight. Shadows moved. Her pulse synchronized, breaths measured. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that even the most controlled plan can still be observed and challenged by someone you trusted completely? Her eyes narrowed. Hands gripped the wheel, timing precise, weight perfect. The bridge stretched endlessly, every second a test, every shadow a question. She smiled faintly. Control, still hers. And then the second shadow detached itself from the far side of the bridge, stepping silently onto the asphalt. Faster than her eyes could track. A faint reflection glimmered in the river below. Someone else had anticipated her. The night was no longer just hers. The shadow moved with impossible speed, silent against the steel ribs of the bridge. Its presence was a ripple in her peripheral vision before the mind could fully register it. Moonlight fractured across the metal, catching the contours of the figure as it stepped closer to the center lane. Elara's hands tightened on the wheel, knuckles white, yet her motions remained fluid. Every adjustment, every micro-correction was calculated, as if she were moving with the car's pulse, not merely controlling it. Her breath caught in a measured intake. The river below reflected silver, violent and fragmented. The sound of tires whispering across asphalt became a rhythm she could feel in her bones, a metronome for every microsecond of tension. The black pouch pressed against her thigh, heavy with intention. Her fingers brushed it repeatedly, each pass deliberate, testing weight, timing, and alignment. The drive hummed softly beside her. Its presence was a constant reminder that her every move was being measured, every choice already predicted by someone, somebody she could not yet name. She caught a flicker in the corner of her eye, a subtle glint of steel, another mirror. Someone else observing, calculating, weighing her every reflex against a plan she could only begin to see. Her lips pressed into a thin line, calm outwardly, pulse racing internally. She shifted slightly in her seat, aligning her sight lines with the bridge's faint steel reflections. Every shadow, every flicker of light became a calculation. Every breath was deliberate. The figure moved closer, now visible fully in the pale moonlight. Not human, not yet fully comprehensible. A tactical suit, black as night, movement precise and mechanical. Her stomach coiled with anticipation. She pressed her foot gently against the accelerator. Tires whispered approval against asphalt. Her hands flexed around the wheel. She adjusted the mirrors subtly, catching the glint of reflective steel, confirming angles, anticipating the shadow's moves. She exhaled slowly, counting in rhythm with her pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The shadow froze, head tilted slightly, observing. Then a subtle signal, barely perceptible. A flicker of hand movement, not towards her but signaling someone else. Another observer, hidden, waiting. Elara's pulse spiked. Her mind raced across probabilities, timing, angles, trajectory, every calculation she had, rehearsed in her head for months, every microsecond accounted for. But now, a new variable existed. The black pouch pressed against her thigh again. She lifted it slowly, fingertips brushing the edges. The tactile sensation grounded her, every nerve in her body aligned with purpose. A sudden wind gust swept across the bridge, rustling leaves far above. She felt it brushing her face, cool and sharp. Every hair on her arms raised slightly, a subtle alert. The shadow shifted again, stepping to a new angle, moving with impossible grace. Her eyes tracked it, mind racing, timing her own actions precisely, anticipating the next move. The river shimmered violently beneath the bridge. Silver flashes of water reflected like fractured glass, mirrored against the steel beams. Her pulse synchronized to the rhythm of reflection and motion. She pressed her hand to the pouch. Tiny clicks echoed in her mind. Invisible triggers. Stage 1 completed. Stage 2 awaited. Timing exact. A subtle flicker on the drive confirmed her synchronization. The second stage would execute perfectly if she maintained control. Her stomach coiled again, breath even, eyes sharp, reflexes alert. The shadow, now fully visible in the moonlight, tilted its head again, analyzing, measuring, testing her reaction. Her mind flicked rapidly. Who could move with such precision? Julian? No. Too fluid, too mechanical. Not his style. Another agent. Perhaps someone Alistair had planted, or another unknown variable entirely. She exhaled slowly, deliberate, counting again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Her hands adjusted the wheel, tiny corrections, responding to subtle environmental cues. The vibration of tires over steel, wind pressure on the car, reflected moonlight, weight of the pouch, hum of the engine. The shadow raised a device. Compact, sleek, metallic. Light reflected faintly off its surface. Targeting, observation, disruption. She couldn't tell. Timing was now critical. She pressed the accelerator slightly, aligning trajectory, speed, and angle perfectly. Her reflection in the rearview mirror aligned with the reflected light from the shadow. A mirror image of herself. 2 Elara Vanes. One real, one reflection, blending reality and perception. Her stomach twisted with adrenaline. Focus sharpened. Awareness extended to every inch of her vehicle. The bridge, the river below, and the unknown variable in front of her. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that someone watching you could anticipate your every choice, yet still underestimate your adaptability? She tilted the pouch slightly, activating the next stage with a faint, almost imperceptible click. Timing, alignment, weight, balance, precision. The shadow's device reflected the movement, catching faint moonlight. Its operator adjusted. Minute calculation, immediate reaction. Her pulse surged, but she controlled her breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Mind alive, muscles alert. The black pouch hummed softly, syncing with the drive. Stage 2 executed invisibly. Perfect, precise, untraceable. The shadow's device flickered. A small shift, slight hesitation, recognition. They hadn't expected this level of calculation. She pressed the accelerator slightly again. Adjusted mirrors, eyes sharp, muscles ready, reflexes calculated. Her stomach tightened, nerves coiling with adrenaline. Yet her mind remained clear. Every microsecond anticipated, every contingency covered. The shadow shifted once more, stepping slightly to the side. Another mirror glinted faintly. Observation angles tested. She adjusted, correcting trajectory. Precision maintained. The river below shimmered violet and silver. Steel beams reflected fragmented moonlight. Everything aligned, every movement precise. Her fingers brushed the pouch. Tiny clicks. Stage 3 ready. Timing still hers, control still hers. Another subtle shift from the shadow, a mechanical precision, a mirrored movement. She recognized it, a challenge, a test, not aggression, observation. Her pulse synced with engine hum. Tires whispered approval against asphalt. Breath measured, muscles alert. The drive confirmed stage 3, signals aligned, invisible mechanisms activated. Her stomach twisted with anticipation, breath slow, eyes sharp, reflexes alive. She adjusted her seat subtly, fingers pressed the pouch. Timing exact, weight balanced, alignment perfect. The Shadow's device flickered again, a subtle shift. Observation continues, measurement, timing. She smiled faintly. They expected hesitation, they expected error, they would not get it. Tires whispered, asphalt hummed, bridge stretched endlessly, shadows flickered across the hood, river shimmered below, moonlight fractured across steel, her pulse steadied slightly. Control still hers. Then a sudden flash of light reflected from the water, blindingly bright, followed by a metallic hum that resonated through the bridge. The shadow froze, but the second figure appeared behind it, stepping onto the asphalt silently. Two observers now, converging with impossible timing. Elara realized with a jolt the night was no longer just a test of precision, it was a trap in motion. Moonlight shattered across the steel beams of the bridge, reflecting jagged silver across the asphalt as Elara's eyes narrowed. Two shadows stood now, mirrored on opposite sides, silent yet alive with intent. Her pulse throbbed, synced to the tires whispering against the asphalt. The hum of the engine beneath her, the faint rustle of wind brushing across the bridge. Every detail mattered. Every microsecond was a thread in a web she could either navigate or be trapped by. She pressed her hands against the steering wheel, the leather cold and firm beneath her fingers. A subtle tremor ran through her forearms, a reminder of the stakes. Not fear, anticipation, focus sharpened to a blade. The black pouch on her thigh felt heavier than before, a tangible weight of consequence. Her fingers brushed it, feeling the edges, counting the seams, the texture, memorizing its weight. Every movement deliberate, every breath measured. The first shadow moved, smooth, precise, almost too fluid to be human. Its mirrored counterpart shifted simultaneously, reflecting the first, an impossible choreography of intention. The river below shimmered violently, silver streaks dancing across the steel girders. Elara's eyes flicked between them, her mind racing faster than her pulse. She could see the angle of the light, the reflection off the mirrors, the subtle shift in their stance. They were testing her, timing, precision, calculation, but she was already steps ahead. She exhaled slowly, feeling air fill her lungs. Fingers flexed. She shifted her seat slightly, adjusting her line of sight. Breath in, breath out, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first shadow raised a hand, device glinting faintly under the moonlight. A signal, a warning, something more subtle. Elara's eyes followed the motion, noting its alignment, trajectory, and timing. Her hand hovered over the pouch. A faint click, invisible to anyone else. The drive on the passenger seat hummed softly. Confirmation. Stage 4, executed silently, invisibly, perfectly. Her pulse surged slightly, but she controlled it. She had prepared for the unpredictable. Every reflection, every flicker of steel, every vibration through the tires had been rehearsed in her mind. Every microsecond a potential disaster or an opportunity. The shadows shifted again. One stepped closer to the edge of the bridge, the other adjusting its position, creating a triangle of observation around her. Her stomach coiled, a mix of adrenaline and calculation. She didn't flinch. She never flinched. Her eyes flicked to the river below. Silver, violent, cold. A reminder that failure had no second chance. She pressed the accelerator gently, gliding forward, her tires whispering over steel, her hands adjusting the wheel with minute precision. She shifted the pouch slightly, activating the next hidden mechanism, a subtle hum, invisible, imperceptible, but enough to disorient any observer not perfectly synchronized. The shadows froze, then tilted their heads, analyzing. Someone hadn't expected that. Someone hadn't accounted for her adaptability. Her pulse slowed slightly, chest rising and falling in deliberate rhythm, eyes narrowed, breath steady, muscles taut yet fluid. A sudden gust of wind swept across the bridge, rustling leaves high above, brushing her hair against her face. She wiped it back, eyes flicking to the mirrors, scanning reflections, scanning shadows. Timing, alignment, anticipation. She was aware of every detail, every subtle shift. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that even when you think the trap is set perfectly, someone inside the design can still turn it back on its creators? A glint of metal caught her eye. One of the shadows held a compact mirror, angled precisely toward her. She caught the reflection, noting its subtle distortions, the trajectory, the alignment of moonlight. Calculation became clarity. Movement became precision. She pressed the pouch slightly, fingertips brushing the edge. A click echoed in her mind, unseen, unheard, yet instantaneous, timing perfect. Stage 5. The shadows shifted again, almost imperceptibly. Testing, measuring, calculating her every reaction. They hadn't expected this level of foresight. They hadn't accounted for her adaptation. She adjusted her steering subtly, correcting for reflected angles, for shadows, for variables she hadn't even noticed until the last microsecond. Control, precision, mastery. The river below shimmered violently. Steel girders reflected fractured moonlight. The shadows mirrored her movements, perfectly synchronized. Two observers, two unknown variables, but she had already integrated them into her calculations. Her fingers flexed over the pouch again. Timing, weight, alignment, breath measured, pulse steady. Muscles alive, reflexes sharpened. A subtle vibration from the drive confirmed synchronization. Stage 6 activated, invisible, perfect, untraceable. The first shadow's device flickered. Slight hesitation. Recognition. They hadn't anticipated her speed, her precision, her control. She pressed the accelerator slightly, tires whispering, subtle adjustments to trajectory, eyes scanning, mirrors checked, shadows accounted for. The river shimmered again. Silver streaks across steel. Every movement a calculation, every reflection a variable. A new flash of movement caught her eye. The second shadow had produced a small, mirrored panel, angled toward the bridge railing. She realized immediately. They weren't just observing, they were testing. A trap layered inside reflection, movement and timing. Her stomach coiled, breath slow, heart rate controlled. She lifted the pouch slightly. Stage 7 activated. Invisible. Perfect. Calculated. The shadows froze, then tilted heads, synchronizing with each other. Observation. Coordination. Precision. She smiled faintly. They expected hesitation. They expected error. But she had anticipated even this. Her tires whispered over steel. Moonlight fractured across asphalt. Shadows shifted. Reflections shimmered. Timing aligned. A subtle vibration from the bridge itself. Steel groaning under tension. Wind rushing across the river. Her pulse synced with every movement, every vibration, every breath. The shadows stepped again. Mirror reflections aligned perfectly with her car's trajectory. Calculated, coordinated, intentional. She pressed the accelerator slightly, tires whispering, steering micro-adjustments precise. Stage 8, ready. Timing perfect. Weight balanced. Alignment exact. A flicker from the drive confirmed synchronization. Stage 8, executed perfectly. Invisible. Untraceable. Her pulse surged, breath steady, muscles alert, mind racing, calculation flawless. The shadows shifted once more, stepping toward each other, forming a converging angle. Trap tightening, observation intensifying. Unknown variable still alive. She exhaled slowly, fingers brushing pouch. Stage 9, ready. Timing precise. Alignment perfect. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that sometimes the closer you are to control, the more the trap reveals itself around you? She pressed slightly on the accelerator, gliding forward, tires whispering, steel reflected fractured moonlight. River shimmered, shadows moved, timing remained hers. Then a sudden flicker, reflections misaligned, a subtle disruption, a new player in the trap, unexpected, unanticipated. Her stomach twisted, breath slowed, eyes narrowed, muscles coiled, reflexes ready. Control was hers, but for how long? The shadows froze, mirrored perfectly now, awaiting her next move. Her fingers brushed the pouch. A click. Stage 10 ready. Timing exact. Weight perfect. Alignment flawless. The river shimmered violently. Steel reflected fractured silver. Shadows mirrored movement, yet she had already accounted for every variable. Her pulse surged slightly, breath measured, mind alert, timing still hers, control still hers. And then a sudden metallic flash erupted from the second shadow's device. The bridge lights flickered violently, reflections fractured across the asphalt, the river, and her car. Elara realized in that instant that the trap was no longer theoretical. It had begun executing itself, and the next move would decide who survived the night. The bridge trembled faintly beneath the weight of the night and her pulse. Moonlight fractured in jagged silver across steel beams, splintering across asphalt and river below. Elara's eyes scanned every reflection, every shadow, every flicker of motion as the metallic hum from the second shadow's device intensified. Her fingers hovered lightly over the pouch. She flexed them deliberately, feeling the edges, feeling the weight, calculating pressure. Timing had to be perfect. Every microsecond counted. The car hummed beneath her, tires whispering against the steel, suspension subtly adjusting with each pulse of movement. She let her gaze flick to the river, noting the fractured reflections of the two shadows as they moved in near-perfect synchronization. Their choreography was flawless, but she'd rehearsed this in her mind, rehearsed every possible angle, every mirrored reflection, every slight deviation in timing. Her stomach tightened, breath slow, muscles alert, the black pouch pressed lightly against her thigh. A subtle click, and a hidden mechanism activated, imperceptible to anyone observing. Timing synchronized with her pulse. The trap had begun, but she controlled the next move. The first shadow shifted, device glinting in moonlight. A signal flashed, a code, perhaps, or a calculated warning. Her eyes caught the flicker, adjustment immediately. Subtle steering correction, micro-adjustment to her trajectory, aligning with the fractured reflections on the asphalt. The second shadow moved again, mirrored perfectly with the first. She realized then that this wasn't just observation. They were testing her adaptability, timing, alignment, calculation. And yet, they had underestimated her ability to integrate new variables instantly. Her breath deepened, chest rising slowly, counting internally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. She had rehearsed these counts countless times, each second a potential margin of error, each microsecond a test of precision. A metallic hum shifted subtly. The drive confirmed her synchronization. Stage 11 executed invisibly. Perfect. Invisible. The shadows froze, tilted heads observing her reactions, not aggression. Observation, measurement, anticipation. They hadn't expected her to adjust so smoothly, so quickly. Her pulse surged slightly. Fingers brushed the pouch again. Adjusted weight, subtle click, timing maintained, control maintained. The wind picked up across the bridge, brushing hair against her face. She wiped it aside, eyes scanning, muscles flexing in anticipation of the next. Movement. Every fiber of her being alive with awareness. The river shimmered violently, silver reflections fractured, reflecting steel beams and shadows in unpredictable angles. She adjusted the mirrors slightly, taking advantage of distorted angles, manipulating perception, controlling narrative. A sudden vibration through the bridge's steel. Imperceptible unless you were paying attention, but she felt it in her bones. Microseconds of difference, a slight adjustment in trajectory required. She leaned subtly, micro-correcting, keeping the tire's whispering rhythm in perfect sync with motion. Her lips curved faintly. They expected hesitation, they expected error, but she had calculated for this. Every movement, every reflection, every pulse, every vibration accounted for. The shadows stepped closer, a faint metallic flicker. The second shadow had aligned something on the road, a mirrored device angled perfectly, aimed to reflect light into her path. The test intensified, her stomach coiled, breath steady, fingers flexed, pressed lightly on the pouch, subtle click, stage 12 initiated, invisible, perfect, calculated. The first shadow reacted almost immediately, adjusting, tilting slightly. Observation intensified, synchronization recalculated. They were not anticipating her flexibility, her precision, her foresight. Her pulse quickened, chest rising slowly. Every muscle coiled yet fluid, ready to adjust in milliseconds. The bridge stretched endlessly ahead, shadows flickering across asphalt, moonlight fractured across steel. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that sometimes survival depends not on speed, but on seeing the invisible and acting before anyone else can? A sudden flash from the second shadow's device caught her eye, a reflection glinting off the river below. She caught it instantly. Adjusted steering slightly, tires whispering, suspension humming, reflections manipulated to give her advantage. Her fingers brushed the pouch again, tiny clicks barely perceptible, activating the next stage. Stage 13, synchronized with drive and bridge sensors. Invisible. Perfect. The first shadow's device flickered. Slight hesitation. Recognition. They hadn't accounted for her adaptability in real time. Her stomach twisted with adrenaline, breath measured, pulse synced with tires hum, wind brushing across her face, muscles ready, reflexes primed. The shadows converged slightly, creating a narrowing corridor, the trap closing, observation tightening. Unknown variable remained. Her eyes flicked to the river. Silver reflections fractured, highlighting possible escape angles, revealing micro-openings. She calculated, adjusted, micro-corrected, precision maintained. The wind gusted again. Hair lifted slightly, brushing against her cheek. She wiped it away, eyes locked on the mirrors, on reflections, on the shadows. Counting silently, every second critical. Stage 14 activated. Subtle, invisible, synchronized perfectly with her pulse, the tires, the black pouch. The shadows froze again. Microsecond hesitation. They had underestimated her speed of adaptation. She exhaled slowly, chest rising, muscles flexing gently, yet ready to respond to the next signal. The metallic hum shifted. Another signal, imperceptible unless you were attentive. But she was. She adjusted, micro-corrected trajectory, managed reflections, calculated every angle. The shadows mirrored her movements, device glinting, perfect synchronization, testing, measuring, observation intensifying. Her pulse surged slightly, fingers brushed the pouch again, timing maintained, weight adjusted, alignment perfect. A flicker from the river reflected a small shadow movement she hadn't anticipated. A hidden observer. Another variable. Instinctively she calculated, adjusted, micro-corrected. Control remained hers. The tires whispered, asphalt hummed, suspension adjusted, breath steady, muscles coiled, pulse measured, the audience tether. Have you ever realized that in life, the moment you think you're fully in control, the trap shifts, and you must adapt faster than anyone else even imagined? A sudden metallic hum, stronger, vibrating across steel beams, echoed faintly through the bridge. The shadows froze, tilted heads, observation intensified. Her eyes narrowed. Fingers brushed the pouch again. Stage 15 ready, timing exact, weight perfect, alignment flawless. Her pulse surged, breath steady, muscles ready, reflexes primed, every movement calculated. Then, from the second shadow, a sudden motion, a small metallic spike launched toward the asphalt. Timing perfect but unintended in her calculations. A twist, her stomach coiled, breath slowed, pulse quickened, mind recalculated instantly. Micro-adjustments to steering, reflection angles, weight distribution, speed. The river shimmered violently. Steel reflected fractured moonlight. Shadows froze. Timing held. And then the spike hit the asphalt, ricocheting unpredictably toward the car's front tires. Elara's heart skipped. Every microsecond now mattered. One wrong move, and the trap would snap shut. The night had become a chessboard of lethal reflections, and the next second would decide who controlled the game. The metallic spike bounced across the asphalt, a jagged reflection of moonlight dancing violently across the bridge. Elara's hands shot to the wheel instinctively, steering just enough to guide the car's tires away from its lethal path. The leather beneath her fingers was cold, familiar, grounding. The tires whispered against steel. Every vibration of the suspension sang to her in rhythm with her heartbeat. The shadows paused, frozen mid-motion, caught off guard by her seamless reaction. Their mirrored movements had anticipated her every microsecond, except this, except the speed of her mind, her adaptability, her instinct. Elara's breath steamed in the night air, curling in slow spirals as she focused on the road ahead, the reflections in the mirrors, the fractured moonlight on steel. Every glance, every micro-movement was calculation, timing, trajectory, alignment. Her pulse was the metronome of control. The spike had ricocheted again, bouncing dangerously close to the edge of the bridge. She adjusted slightly, pressing the accelerator just enough to glide forward, suspending the weight of danger perfectly. She could feel the air pressing against the car, cool and sharp, every nerve alive, every muscle ready. The first shadow lunged forward, device raised, a tiny flash of light reflecting off its surface. Observation had intensified. Testing had accelerated. But Elara anticipated. She flicked the pouch on her thigh, activating the next stage. The hum was soft, invisible, imperceptible, but deadly precise. Her stomach coiled, breath slow, eyes sharp, fingers flexed. Timing was everything. Stage 16 executed invisibly, perfect, untraceable. The second shadow reacted, attempting to mirror her movement, but a subtle miscalculation appeared, a tiny delay, an error invisible to most, but glaringly obvious to her. She caught it instantly, adjusting steering by a micro-degree, redirecting trajectory, manipulating reflections to create her advantage. The river below churned silver, violent, restless, mirroring the storm of calculations racing through her mind. Moonlight fractured across the steel beams, splintering in every direction. She adjusted mirrors, corrected angles, maintained micro-adjustments. Her pulse surged, chest rising and falling deliberately, muscles taut yet fluid, breath controlled, mind focused. She could feel the drive vibrating lightly on the seat, confirming synchronization, signaling that every stage was executing perfectly. The shadows froze again. Slight hesitation, recognition they hadn't expected this level of precision, they hadn't accounted for her adaptability under pressure. Her lips curved faintly. Control, still hers. Power, still hers. A gust of wind rushed across the bridge, carrying the faint scent of river water, cold and sharp. It tugged at her hair, brushing across her cheek. She flicked it aside, eyes on reflections, shadows, angles. Every detail mattered. The spike ricocheted a final time, landing harmlessly in a puddle near the bridge's edge. She pressed her foot gently against the accelerator, gliding forward. The shadows' mirrored movements faltered slightly, caught in a rhythm they could no longer dominate. Her fingers brushed the pouch again, stage 17, invisible, perfect, synchronization flawless. The first shadow lunged toward the edge, device raised again. Her mind raced, calculating micro-adjustments to speed, angle, trajectory, and reflected light. She corrected instantly. The device's angle misaligned with the mirror's reflection. Advantage hers. The second shadow mirrored the first, timing slightly off. She adjusted steering. Tires whispered, suspension hummed. Every vibration of the car became part of her calculation, every reflection a tool. Her pulse surged, breath measured, mind alert, every movement precise. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that the final moment, the one that defines victory, comes not from strength alone, but from foresight, precision, and a refusal to be outsmarted? The first shadow froze again. Device lowered slightly. Observation sharpened, tension rising, but the microsecond delay had shifted momentum. Advantage now belonged to her. She pressed the pouch, faint hum signaling stage 18. Synchronization perfect, invisible, deadly precise. The shadows moved again, converging, but now Elara had already calculated angles, speed, trajectories. The bridge itself became part of her strategy, the steel beams, reflections, river below, moonlight, all variables she controlled. Her stomach coiled with adrenaline, breath steady, pulse measured, every microsecond calculated, timing flawless, reflexes primed, the spike from the previous moment lay harmlessly behind her, insignificant now. The real trap had been the shadows themselves, the mirrored, synchronized variables, but she had turned it into her advantage. A flash of moonlight revealed the first shadow's eyes, alert, calculating, aware, and then recognition. They hadn't expected her foresight. They hadn't predicted her speed of adaptation. Her fingers brushed the pouch again. Stage 19. Almost complete. Execution flawless. The second shadow shifted slightly. Coordination faltered, observation slowed, opportunity appeared. She pressed gently on the accelerator, guiding the car toward a subtle curvature in the bridge. Mirrors aligned, reflections manipulated, shadows caught in misalignment. Control absolute lado. The river below churned, silver and violent. Moonlight fractured across steel. Shadows faltered again. A subtle vibration from the drive confirmed final synchronization. Stage 20 executed. Perfect, invisible. The first shadow lunged forward, miscalculated. Device misaligned. Reflection off, momentum lost. The second shadow froze, attempting to correct but too late. Advantage now fully hers. Her pulse surged, breath steady, muscles taut. Reflexes sharp, mind fully alert. She exhaled slowly, eyes narrowed, timing exact, movement perfect, control absolute. The audience tether. Have you ever realized that a moment of calm precision in chaos can turn the tables completely? A flicker of movement. The first shadow stumbled slightly, a tiny misstep. The second shadow hesitated. The trap meant to ensnare her had become their vulnerability. She pressed her foot firmly. Accelerator. Tires whispered. Suspension hummed. Steering micro-corrected. Every reflection, every shadow, every micro-movement under control. The bridge stretched endlessly. Moonlight fractured across steel. River shimmered. Shadows faltered. Momentum shifted. Her fingers brushed the pouch one final time. Stage 21. Perfect, execution complete. The first shadow dropped to the asphalt, device clattering harmlessly. The second shadow froze, recognizing defeat. Elara exhaled slowly. Chest rising, pulse steady, breath controlled, victory carved in microseconds, reflections and calculation, her lips curved faintly. Control absolute. Power reclaimed. The trap neutralized, the night conquered. The bridge lights flickered violently one last time, then stabilized. Shadows no longer moved. Moonlight fractured across the steel and river, reflecting one figure alone, Elara Vane. The Wraith, alive, triumphant. The night's trap had been her chessboard, and every move she had made revealed the truth. The girl who was mocked, underestimated and controlled had become the master of the night, the architect of her own empire.